Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
Solid, mate. Solid.
Best/worst Aussie accent ever. All right.
That's what a lot of some of the Aussie girls said too.
All right, I'm going to get started. So, all right, I just want to do some shout-outs. Big shout-out to Tectonic Coffee. They're an LA-based coffee roasting company. The purveyors of super clean caffeine. Ethics are at the core of everything they do, and like so many small businesses, they've been doing it tough through the pandemic. Especially on the back of that, they had the LA riots, and they weren't able to make their deliveries. So as a gratitude for all the support they've received from their customers, if you purchase coffee on their website between March 16th and up until the end of July, you'll automatically become what they call an inner core member and receive wholesale prices for the rest of your life. Big shout out to Deaton and Chelsea. Those guys are just beautiful humans. If you go to www.tectoniccoffee.com, that's TECTONIC coffee.com, and use promo code THT, you'll also get a discount on top of that. And they ship worldwide. As always, shout out to our major sponsor, Indosol Footwear, just legends, Kai, Chris, and Kyle. They've just done amazing things. You know, they've taken like about 100,000 motor vehicle tires out of landfill by converting them into footwear. And also ethical practices in their factories in Indonesia, supporting local people. So they're a B certified company, which means they have the certification for their ethical practices, which also means they're vegan, which I read that and I was like, that's so funny. Their shoes are vegan. Pat, what do you reckon? You can eat their shoes. Anyway, so if you go to www.indosol.com, that's INDOSOLE.com, use promo code THT, you'll also get a discount. You'll be supporting the show. They ship worldwide. They've got distributors everywhere, especially in the United States. They're now in Europe, Amsterdam, and the Middle East. So, yeah, get on it. Use promo code THT. All right, Pat, are you ready, brother?
I'm ready. I'm roaring. Let's go, brother. Come on, bring me home.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Today's guest is Pat Millin. Pat is a father, ex-professional surfer, Hollywood stuntman, actor, adventure traveller and model. His core roots are deep in surfing and skateboarding. He has spent many years of his life travelling the world, chasing heavy barrels with his brother Mikey, exploring a diverse range of remote locations such as Norway, Russia, Newfoundland, Tonga, Fiji, Tahiti. Nowadays, Pat prioritises time with his daughter and describes everything else in his life as a bonus. However, these bonuses he refers to include accolades for his stunt work in Hollywood movies such as Bumblebee, Bad Boys for Life, Beautiful Boy, and doubling for James Franco in season 2 of HBO series The Deuce, amongst many other movies and TV shows. Pat's drive and passion for clean living, health and wellness are part of a bigger journey of self-discovery. Today, Pat is with me from his apartment in LA and Hollywood, Pat, is that right?
Yeah, West Hollywood.
West Hollywood, to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Patrick Allen Millin, welcome.
Yes, yeah, right on, Shannon. Thank you so much. I don't know. You were breaking that down. I'm like, who is he talking about? I'm like, is he back here somewhere? But yeah, really cool. Thank you. I'm flattered. Really appreciate the kind words.
Yeah. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel when like someone reflects on your life for you? Like what feelings come up? Do you feel a sense of pride in what you've done?
It feels like I haven't done that, and it's like secondary almost. It's like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like I want to know that guy. Like that's pretty amazing. So, yeah, just flattered, honestly. It sounds cool. I need to give myself more credit, I guess.
Yeah, I know that's my problem as well. I think I don't know about you, but like sometimes I just get so caught up in my day-to-day life, and actually, thinking about what I'm going to do next is I forget to stop and think and just go, oh wow, I've done some stuff, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So man, like you're in West Hollywood, like what's a day in the life of Pat Millin like at the moment?
Normally I wake up, I have coffee. I have a pretty solid morning routine where, I wake up, I meditate, I do some yoga, just try to get my head on right, and I'll either, if I have a free day, I'll get on my bike and ride, get a good workout in, or I'll go surf, or train, I'll get in my old cop car, do some training, or I'll meet some other stuntmen and work on some fight stuff or ammunition training, stuff like that.
When you say, what do you mean ammunition training? What does that mean? Like
just like tactical, close range, like combat stuff with handguns.
Are you? Excuse me.
And knives.
Okay, so is this all preparation work for potential movie work or personal projects?
It's preparation, absolutely, because you just like a lot of people don't realize, but there are real Navy SEALs and just some badass mother effers that really like watch for that stuff on in television or in film. So it's very, very important to have the right technique. If you're portraying like a Navy SEAL or someone that has high training, if you come in and there's a certain little tiny things that people can pick up on, so it's really important.
So yeah, you're trying to like make sure you're legit and people can't call you out. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you want to physically, become whatever the role is, to your best ability.
Like refine and constantly refining your craft.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But it's so fun, like getting to train and do all these amazing things. It's like, you get to become like a G.I. Joe soldier or something, or a Swiss Army knife. It's just very well-rounded and constantly doing super, super fun things.
Yeah. Are you like subconsciously like creating sequences, to have in your toolbox in case you do, get a role and they ask you to be creative and you've got some ideas to bring to it straight away?
Yes, absolutely. No matter what, like if I'm acting or I'm just playing, like doing an isolated stunt in something, I always make the world real no matter what. It just, some people are different, but I need to immerse myself in it to get like something real, a real reaction. So it's interesting, but yeah, on the fly, on the spot, hey, do this. It's fun that way, because that's where the magic is. Like you don't have time to think, so it's actually real.
It's like it's just second nature. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Cool. Super interesting.
So cool. Like, I was telling some friends this morning that I was like, I'm going to go talk to this guy. He's a Hollywood stuntman. And they're just like, who actually ever gets to speak to a Hollywood stuntman? It just sounds so rad,
Yeah.
But look, anyway, I want to go back a little bit. So where did you grow up exactly?
I was born in Los Angeles and moved around a lot when I was a kid. So we moved to Montana and then Hawaii and then moved to San Diego. So spent most of my childhood in San Diego. And into my adult life, and then moved up to LA about 4 years ago, and I've been kind of bi-coastal now, like New York and LA.
Oh, yeah, okay. Do you mind if I ask why bi-coastal? Is it because there's work in New York or?
It's a little bit of both. I don't know. New York has always pulled me to it since I was 18 years old. I was sponsored by a company that was based out of New York, and they would fly me out there. And then I met my ex fiance. She's from New York, and just always constantly pulling me back out there. And then, I met James and then ended up working on the show out there. And then my ex and my daughter moved back to New York almost 2 years ago. So it's just constantly pulling me back, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It could be worse. It could be like Alabama or something crazy. So I'm not too bummed on it. I get to go spend a few weeks or, however long in one of the most beautiful cities.
New York City, the actual city part, or are you in the outskirts?
They're on the outskirts. They're on Long Island. But when I stay, in Brooklyn or sometimes in the city, which is cool. Yeah.
So like growing up in San Diego and moving around a lot, did you do your schooling in that area? Or what were your young school years like? Did you just go to numerous schools in your childhood?
Yeah, I've been to like 12 different schools, I think, throughout my childhood. So a lot of movement. It was every year or so. Just when we kind of settled in, it was like we're out. We're on to the next thing. So I was, my younger years, I was pretty shut off, but I was a pretty, I don't know, I want to say dark, but just kind of a gnarly little kid, like I smoked cigarettes and like my hair was bleached and, I'd steal shit. Like it was fascinating. Now I look back on it, I'm like, man, I was like kind of a gnarly kid, like dealing weed at 12 years old and doing like house robberies and stuff. It was pretty incredible.
Wow. I'm laughing with you, but I'm not laughing at you.
No, it's all good. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Do you think that like that constant moving around just, I guess, forced you to develop those street smarts early?
Yes, absolutely. And
why?
Because I was constantly being put into new situations, where I had to like meet new friends, but also say goodbye to them, so it toughened me up pretty quick, in that sense but also it kind of like deep down, it molded like this thing in me where, I can't get close to someone, because it's going to end. It's going to go away. So I kind of built up these layers, in that sense, which was kind of sad,
Did you feel like you were constantly adapting, having to adapt to new environments and new people?
Yeah. I mean, we lived in Hawaii, total different set of humans, big Hawaiians, hardcore. I'm like this little freckled white kid. And, then we moved to Montana and be in the mountains with some rednecks and then, San Diego, like just being with surfers and skateboarders and stuff. So it's definitely amazing. Like, I got to like nitpick little pieces out of like really interesting people,
Like, do you mind if I ask why you had to move around so much?
Yeah. Parents split up when I was really young. And when I was 1, and my mom, single mother, just struggling, alcohol, drugs, all that stuff. So we would, it was just kind of, she was surviving, she was doing the best that she could to take care of me and my brother. And, we'd move around, to family members, boyfriends, and sometimes not have a place to go, which is pretty wild. But, it was kind of crazy. Like we, grew up with nothing, obviously, and but always in like beautiful places, which is fascinating. It's really cool.
So when you say beautiful places like Hawaii, I mean, I've been to San Diego. I think San Diego is a beautiful place.
Gorgeous,
lots of beaches and just a good vibe. Like that, my memories of it. But at what age did you get into surfing and being around, being in the ocean?
I remember I was living on the Big Island with my mom, and I bought this she got me this old brown like shortboard surfboard from this garage sale, and it was I can't remember the brand, but I remember paddling out by myself on it, like never had rode a surfboard before, and I think we were on the north side of the Big Island, and there was this little real rocky reef spot, and there's two surfers. I'll never forget, like getting on the board, and I remember there's like this big puffer fish and like the rock, like wedged in one of the rocks, and paddling out, not being able to catch anything, but almost catching a wave. But that was kind of my first memory of actually being on a surfboard, and I just remember how difficult it was. It's just like man, it's really challenging, and so it kind of like turned me off of it. And then when we moved back to California, we were in San Diego for a little bit, and then we moved to Temecula because my mom had gotten married to this guy. But it was amazing because I got really into rollerblading, like inline skating.
Really?
Oh,
no
yeah.
way. I would have never picked that.
Fruit booting, it was like a big thing back then. And then I got into BMXing, like dirt jump, which I just absolutely love. And, the talent out in that zone, it's like some of the best dirt bikers and BMX pros in the world. It's kind of a hub for it.
Okay. I had no idea, dude.
We had like local trails out there, and a lot of like pros who come ride. And I just remember going, that's it. Like, I want to be a professional BMX rider, and it was rad. I got really, really good. Like I was doing, trying to huck backflips and turn downs and doing all this rad stuff.
No way, dude.
Which was amazing.
Interesting.
Sorry, I was going to say back to the surfing thing. The next time I got into surfing was when I was like around 12 years old. My dad bought me and my brother 2 new shortboards, and
nice.
And we took it out. Same thing though, I couldn't ride them. I was like, man, this is so hard.
It's funny, like by traditional surf standards, like starting surfing at 12 is considered late.
Yeah.
Now, considering like you have actually gone on to I guess, would you say you made a semi-career out of being were you like a professional free surfer?
I was, yeah, for 12 years.
That's amazing, dude. Considering like a lot of the pro surfers are in Australia anyway. It's like, well, they were getting pushed into waves when they were 5 years old, and it's just like growing up right on the ocean with a stable household. So yeah, I'm really impressed that you sort of started at that age, and then you went on to chasing some of the bigger sort of solid waves around the world, right?
Yeah. So I actually I learned how to surf, but that wasn't my thing. I was into street skateboarding, and that's a whole nother chapter I can get into, like just growing up with some of the best up and coming kids, and we moved around a lot. So when I come back, they were all on this like another level, like one of them was getting paid and, huge promising career. And I just remember like, man, I want to be as good as these guys, and I skated with that crew, and I basically, my talent wasn't there, but I like had the heart, so, I was just hucking my body off huge sets of stairs and handrails and just getting destroyed. But eventually I started, the talent was matching the heart, and then I was kind of, matching those guys as well. And that was like my passion. That the first thing was like, I'm going to be a pro skateboarder, like this is it.
Amazing.
I got really, but then I ended up getting injured quite a bit, breaking bones and all that good stuff. And my older brother started doing the semi-pro thing, and he's traveling and, tan skin, a lot of girls at high school, God, he's so hot, And I'm like, I need to get on that program. So when I was 16, that's when I like really made the switch to surfing. And my whole thing was like, I'm going to destroy Mike. Like I'm going to crush my big brother. And I absolutely did. Sorry, Mike. Sorry. No, Mike is amazing.
I can't wait to hear his take on that.
Yeah.
So that was my sort of one of my questions. Like, so that was through your teen years. In the meantime, you were still going to high school?
High school, yes.
And you completed high school?
I did, barely.
And how do you reflect on your high school days? Because I just really see high school days for a lot of people as, whether you like it or not, it's just a really delicate developmental time for a human. So how do you reflect on those years at high school?
High school is really, really, really painful for me.
Why?
I had I chipped my teeth skateboarding when I was really young, so my teeth were all messed up, and they never were really repaired, so my teeth were black in the front. So I never smiled, and if I laughed, it would be kind of like that, and then too, I had some learning disabilities, so I was in special ed, and it just made me. I just closed off so hard, dude. I was so shut down. And that's kind of how it was. I just hid in school, if it was lunchtime, I'd just go in my car and kind of chill out, and then I'd go back and, insane. And then, a little bit later on in life, we had some stuff going on with my parents, and we kind of became homeless as a family. So my last year of high school, my senior year, I was living in my car for a bit. And it was just one of those things, it's I made it so far and I didn't want to give up, It's God, I'm here. I need to finish this. But at the same time, I was I need to survive. How am I need to eat food? And two, I'm I'm going to be a pro surfer, I'm going to be a professional surfer. And I ended up taking all that pain and chaos and I was in the water all day long, 3 sessions a day.
So would it be safe to say that dream that you had was what actually got you through that tough time? It kept gave you some kind of focus. Absolutely.
Skateboarding, surfing, that stuff. It was everything, that's the only thing that kept me alive, straight up. If I didn't have those outlets, I would have, necked myself a long time ago. So.
Oh, dude, I hear this and I just really identify. I say this to a lot of people. I was very similar. For me, it was skateboarding first. I was just obsessed with it. And I grew up on a relatively coastal sort of area, and everyone surfed. And it was kind of if you didn't surf, you were kind of like a weirdo. And back then, skateboarding wasn't sort of cool like it is now. But we just had this little crew, that I think if it wasn't for that little crew, and we got up to mischief, we're smoking weed and at ages that were probably way too young and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what I found was it stopped us because we had these passions like skateboarding, especially. It just stopped us from going to those next levels of, I guess, maybe even abuse or substance abuse in some ways, because we knew that we had something that was just greater than that. And had other people we knew in our circle that didn't have that same level of passion. And then even to this day, some of those people are now dead, or some of those people are just really in a bad way. So I'm with you there. When you said that, when I was saying that, I was just I so identify, and I'm so grateful that I found these passions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you actually okay, you got through that senior year of high school, which would have been gnarly, living in a car and all that. Dude, what was the next move once high school finished? Where did you go from there? Did you actually start to make it in the surf world a little bit?
It was kind of crazy because I never really competed a little bit, high school and then some local contests. And it's how do you turn professional if, it's through competition? And my now looking back at it, my desire and my will was so strong and so powerful that it pulled it to me, it fully was a manifestation, because I ended up meeting this photographer who knew this dude who just started working at this new brand. They were looking for guys, and he's just like, I got the two brothers, boom, big emerging brand into the surf world. It was incredible, and then slowly after that, like when I was 18, they turned me pro, but I was making like $300 a month. And I was just like, this is it. Like, this is it, dude. I'm quitting everything. I was like busting tables at a restaurant, and I was like, fuck you. Yeah. Like $300, dude. I'm going on the world tour, which is amazing. But
it's like free money.
Yeah, it was a start, 300. And then it was like, it was more. And I just kept building more sponsors, it was, amazing. So I went really, really hard on the surfing thing right after high school. I did one day at a local college, Miracoast Community College. And I was like, yeah, this isn't it. I don't even know what I want to do, honestly. I just sat there and I was like, all right. So I just put everything into, my surf career, and some amazing things happened, it really did. Got to do some amazing trips and some incredible, parties. Yeah.
Around that time too, I think that's when a lot of brands were realizing that they could sponsor surfers who didn't compete, and effectively like that whole move towards like brand ambassadors and sending them around the world. They sort of just caught on to that, and that's when it was. I guess we would just say around the early 2000s. You were talking.
This is mid 2000s actually. This is
mid 2000s, yeah. So
yeah.
Free surfing was a thing then, where it never used to be. It was like if you didn't compete, there's no way you could earn any kind of living out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then what happened to me in my surf career. A good friend of mine, a local San Diego pro, invited me on this trip. His name is Ricky Whitlock, and he invited me on this trip to northern Norway, to the Lofoten Islands. And it's in the Arctic Circle, freezing water, snow, big Jurassic mountains, and all this shit. And, I went on that trip, and it was like a game changer for me, like, I ended up getting, because it gave me some of the biggest exposure that I've ever received. It like put me on the map, and then it sent me down this whole different rabbit hole of like, oh, this is my niche. Like I'm a cold water surfer, and I'm gonna go and explore all these unridden waves, like in the Arctic region, and it was like guys have done it before, but it wasn't quite a thing yet. And then, we started, some big articles in Surfer Magazine, and we did some stuff for Outside Magazine. It really started to snowball, so that was kind of my thing, and then we went to Lofoten Islands, Lofoten Islands, but into Russia, into Murmansk.
No way.
Which was insane. Snowmobiles, like searching the coastline, with surfboards. And then the Faroe Islands as well. Apparently, we were the first people to surf there.
Oh, what? So what were those islands called?
Faroe.
Okay.
It's between Iceland and England. It's like right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like the wetsuits and the rubber you were wearing. Like what were you wearing? Like not 4.3s. What are we talking? 5.6s.
5.43 with a hood, because you want performance, right? Like you still can't. Yeah. You got to move. And then I would wear 5 mil boots and gloves. So on the extremities, but you get a good hour of like, right. You're there to get photos or some video. It's like you go out there, you give it your all, and then, you lock up, and it's like, okay, time to go get warm.
Amazing.
But those missions were crazy, because we would go to these spots and they've never been surfed. So we would spend days in the car without even seeing a rideable wave, but then we would like come around a corner or like a hill and be like, fuck, I think it's surfable, like there's sheep and hey, let's get it. And then we go out and it'd be shitty. But it's so cool, you know, such a fun
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess like cold water surf locations, you know, they're kind of the final frontier in surf exploration, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because it's so much has been discovered, and that's so rad that you surf some, like, you know, never been surf spots before.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, how are you guys actually like finding these locations? Was it like just word of mouth, or were you like getting the maps out and having a look? Like, what were you doing?
Google Map. And then,
maps, yeah.
you know, we get maps as well, and then talk to fishermen and like usually like boat harbors, like stuff like that. And then just sometimes like, oh, let's just take this road. Let's see what happens, you know? Yeah. Really cool.
Many failed missions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Freezing. So cold. And
failed. Like you
that?
go there and then do you get, in Australia we call it getting skunked. So you go on a surf trip and then you don't get any swell or you don't get any waves. We call it getting skunked. So did that happen very often?
Absolutely. Big time. And you know, those northern territory, you know, countries they're so expensive, man, like Norway, and just for petrol and food, and it's pretty incredible. I remember that first trip I did to Norway, I think I barely had any money, barely scraped it together, got my sponsors, you know, on board. And I remember I threw 2 like big packs of Top Ramen in my surfboard case. Cause I was like, I know it's going to be freezing and like, I want some hot soup. And like, you can, you know, Top Ramen is very versatile. It's like, you can make spaghetti, like you can do like a pad thai or like a soup, you know what I'm talking about? Like you can, you can get creative with that. So it was great. Yeah. I like lived off Top Ramen, and then, you know,
amazing, dude.
Bunch of great stuff. Good memories. Yeah.
So like, I guess the next question I've got for you is like, as the surfing started to dwindle in terms of an income source, what was the next move for you when you realized that was maybe coming to an end or slowing down?
You know, I have to be honest here. So it was really, for me, like I kind of gave this ultimatum for myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
I gave this ultimatum for myself. It was because I came from nothing, you know, I had no family, and it was like do or die. You know, I basically said to myself, if this doesn't work out, then I'll just kill myself, because this is everything to me. Like my identity, my self-worth, it was all wrapped up into this, you know, pro surfer image, right? And I so badly just, you know, in my head, it was kind of weird, because when I first started out, my vision was, I just want to be this like free surfer that roams the world and travels and, you know, gets barreled. And that's kind of what happened, you know? But then when you get a little older, it's like, oh yeah, I need like money, you know, money is good. You know, how do I make more money out of this profession? And, it's pretty challenging. You know, there's not a lot of guys who surf professionally that make good money. And, you know, I did pretty decent for like a mid-level pro. But, you know, I got paid in lifestyle, and I think that's kind of like what a lot of pros do, right? So you get paid in lifestyle, a little bit of money, and then you transfer out into like working for a surf brand, or maybe you're a team manager or a sales rep or whatever, you know? So for me, like I never had any interest in that. I just was like, I don't want to work in the surf industry. I knew it. I just couldn't connect to it, you know, even though I tried to like warm up to the idea. I was like, oh, that's not me. You know, I don't see myself going there. And, you know, fast forward or rewind to like when I'm 22, I'm making decent money traveling, and, you know, I'm a full blown alcoholic, you know, traveling, you know, I'd go on trips and I would get hammered, party. I'd come home, my friends want to party. So it was like it was a big bender, you know, and two, like a lot of the stuff from my childhood, like I never dealt with. So like the surfing thing happened, it just gave me more of an opportunity to run from everything, you know. And then I discovered alcohol and drugs and women and stuff, just all these little Band-Aids, you know, just to keep like all that pain and that trauma that I had in my chest, you know, to keep it at bay. So when things ended, it was like 2008 when the recession hit. I got one more year out of my contract somehow, out of my couple of my contracts. And then in 2010, it was like, hey, gigs up, like the company's going down, you know? So I was left in that spot. I was like, well, it's all gone. Now what do I do? Like, do I, you know, this is it. I'm going to take myself out. And at that point, like,
Check yourself out.
I was going to take myself out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. And I really appreciate your honesty there. Anyway, sorry, keep going. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but it's
no, it's okay. It's like, I want to share this, you know, I want, you know, maybe there's a kid out there that was just like me. So it's like, I get it, you know, and I need to share this and let them know that like there's hope on the other side, right?
That feeling of wanting to take yourself out, was it because you realized that lifestyle that you were given through surfing was ending, and you hung your whole identity on it?
My whole identity, I was a scared little traumatized kid hiding behind something, and then it was gone, you know? And my ego was inflated. And it was one of those things where it's like, now what do I do? You know, I have to go work at a restaurant, right? I have to go landscape. What do I do? I mean, honestly, I could do anything, but that's where I was thinking, you know? And I did. I was like, eventually, you know, a good friend of mine's like, dude, you got to go get a job, you know, like you got to take care of yourself. And I'm like, fuck, all right. So I knew someone who knew someone that owned this restaurant and this bar tending spot. And then I started bar back in there. And that was just a huge party because I would just sneak in the back and, you know, I drank all the sake and the beer and I'd just be fucking hammered. But at the same time too, it was very ego deflating because I knew a lot of people in the community and they're like, what are you doing here? You know, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, I'm bar backing, you know, let me get your dish for you. Kind of clean that kind of thing. And it was just like, it was just crushing, dude.
Were people like sort of saying to you that you were blowing it, like your opportunities?
I mean, I got a couple times like where when I was drinking a lot, like it was weird. I was so driven. Like even if I stayed up partying until 4 a.m, I'd get up at 6 and I go surf, just fucking reeking like booze, you know? And like 2 out of 10 times I'd be able to put together a good session. But then like the guilt and the shame of like squandering, you know, my dream that happened. And then I would like wake up with that. And it was this constant battle of like, I can't control the drinking. But also I have like my career here that it's like 1 out of 1,000,000, you know, to happen. And it was like this big tug of war, you know, and then I would just bounce off the bottom and like come up and I'd be good. And then, you know, until it was gone.
In those early days, did you have any inclination that you may have an issue with alcohol? Or was it just like, hey, I'm young, I'm partying, who gives a fuck? Like, or was there any feeling that, hey, I might be an alcoholic?
Oh, absolutely. I, you know, the first time that I discovered alcohol, it was, I'll never forget it. You know, I was just I was in so much pain and, I really, really just wanted to die. Like I remember I was at this little house party with some friends and, I just was so scared and I didn't know what to do. And like, I was so closed off, like I said, you know, I never really smiled and everyone's having fun. And there I was like living in my car and just so shut off, you know. And I remember I grabbed this bottle of pop-off vodka. It was like a gallon. And I just grabbed it and I took like 3 big pulls off of it. And it was like that fucking square of that brick of ice in my chest. Like once that vodka hit me, it just melted it away, you know, and I could breathe. And it was like, this is what I was like looking for, you know, my entire life. It was relief, you know, and I could laugh and I could smile and like, it was just incredible. I felt so free in my body finally, you know, I felt comfortable. It was like, finally this fucking suit fits me, you know? So from that moment on, that's how I dealt with any emotion, you know, or any situation in my life. And I'm like a really sensitive person, you know, the more I get into this, it's like, I'm so sensitive to people's energies and into myself, you know, and I took a lot of things personally and it was incredible. So whenever I was in a lot of pain, it was just straight to the store, you know, pick up a case of beer or vodka, whatever it was.
Here's a question for you. Like, I mean, I really identify with that as well. When you're in a lot of pain, like alcohol definitely works to, you know, the pain subsides. There's no doubt about it. And it worked. I mean, I know it worked for me for many years, but what about when things were going well? Was it still something you lent on?
Fuck yeah. It was like, all right, like this is good. Well, let's make it better, you know?
Yeah.
Let's fucking make it better. And it's crazy because there's such a small window there where alcohol truly works, you know? It's like, I think of like when I'm like really depressed and drinking, it's like a hot, like, you know, you drive your car 100 miles and then you pull over, you turn it off and it's crackling and you like pour fucking water over it. That's what like alcohol was for my soul, you know, when I was in a lot of pain like that. And then the opposite, when it was like, man, I just fucking won a contest or whatever, you know, it was just like, it's on, or, hey, I'm really bored right now. And I would just manufacture like the best time ever, you know? And then it shuts off that voice, you know, that thing that just gets stuck, you know? The noise, dude, the chatter, you know, but then, you know, you're fucked when the booze, you're drunk and the noise is still there. That's when I knew I was like, I'm fucked.
When did that start? When did that start?
I started
when did it stop working?
Probably like around 21 or something.
Okay.
You know? And like, I'd be at a party and I'd just like go dark. And I remember I'd grab a bottle and I'd go walk and then I'd end up like in a bush somewhere crying, fucking, you know, drinking, numbing it out and then curled in a ball. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. Like,
and then you could never get enough of it into you. And yeah. Interesting. So, wow, man, thanks for your openness on that. I can't believe you made a comment earlier. You said, I'm a highly sensitive person, you know?
Yeah.
And that's actually been a really common theme in this podcast with people I've spoken to.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I had one guest, Edward Dangerfield. I always refer to him. He's a breathwork specialist in Bali. Amazing human. And I mean, and his story is not dissimilar to yours. You know, looking for ways to numb these fluctuations in feelings and emotion, you know, and the intensity was too much for him to bear. And he describes it as being a HSP. And I'm like, what's a HSP? He's like, a highly sensitive person. And again, I've said this numerous times on the podcast. He said, what I realized was that I thought it was my defect, but I've actually realized now that it's actually my superpower, that sensitivity.
Yes.
And he uses it as his superpower. And some people describe it as being an empath as well. You know, they feel the extreme highs and the extreme lows. You know, in some cases, it's manic behavior. It could be described as manic behavior. I don't know. Yeah. But I think we can tap into it personally and use it. to empower and also support other people. So, and the fact that you said it again, I'm just like, no way, dude. Like, it's such a commonality, and it's a real commonality amongst successful people.
Yeah. HSP,
dude. You're HSP.
I like it.
Like, and, you know, Russell Brand.
I know of him. Yeah.
He's a comedian.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. He's incredible. I read his book. I have his book right here. Amazing. I've seen him speak before. He was awesome.
Exact same thing. And he said that he'd go to see psychologists about these fluctuations in his feelings and mood. And the first reaction is to prescribe medication. Have some sedatives. It's prescribed. It's legal. It's okay. You know. Yeah. And he did that. He said what it did was, it numbs those waves and those emotions, but then it also stifled his creativity. Yeah. You know, and so he just made a decision years ago that, well, I want my creativity, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to have my creativity and ride these waves of feeling and emotion. And so he just delved heavily into things like meditation, 12-step recovery programs, and charity work, and also and writing and expressing his journey to other people, and just went on this journey of healing. And for me, I think he's one of the most, you know, modern day enlightened, you know, semi-famous people I've ever come across. So absolutely. Hugely inspiring. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. His mind is brilliant. I mean, it truly is.
It is. Yeah. So anyway, Pat, I want to get into, like, so after, you sort of talked about the surfing came to an end, and you delved into substance abuse. At what stage did you decide that, hey, I want to take on Hollywood and be a stuntman in Hollywood? When was that dream conceived to be a Hollywood stuntman?
Honestly, when I was a little kid, I remember watching Bloodsport, you know, and just Van Damme. Van Damme just kicking ass in some basement in China, you know, like just putting a whooping on people. And I remember just like, that's so cool, you know? And I don't know, I've always wanted to be an actor, you know, ever since I was a kid. I was like, man, that's really cool. You know, and I've had a few moments in my earlier years where I was like, I'm just going to move to Hollywood and just go for it, you know? And, but I never had the balls to do it, you know? And I just thought that was like, oh, maybe that's just a thought, you know? And what's that?
Well, you thought you weren't good enough?
Good enough. And well, no, I wouldn't say that. It's more like, I feel like maybe you can relate with this too, but you know, before you take an acting class or start kind of scratching the surface of this whole like entertainment thing, you watch people like Benicio del Toro and you're just like, I could do that. Like, he's not doing anything, you know? But he looks like a badass, and he is doing something with his eyes and his like inner world, you know? So I felt like a lot of that when I was younger. I'd watch, like, of course, I'm a good looking dude and like talented, brave, or whatever. And it's not the case, you know. This is a whole different beast than what I expected when I was younger, you know?
How is it now that you understand Hollywood a little bit better? How's it a different beast?
That it's a craft, you know. It's a lifestyle. It's you know, maybe 1 out of a million they come here looking for fame and fortune and they get it, you know. But a lot of the working actors you see are stunt performers or stunt actors. Like, it's a craft. It's a lifestyle, you know. It's a lifelong commitment. So, and I didn't realize like how much work it is to pursue a career in this business, you know, whether it's reading or rehearsing acting classes. Like, it's physically draining. And then too, like, you don't get to do it that often, you know? So it's kind of, even like if you're one of the top working actors in the world, like there's still, there's a lot of like in between time, but the preparation is the work, because when you get on set, it's like very, the pressure is very high, fast paced, like you got to be on point. And it's fascinating. I didn't see it that way before. I thought you just show up and.
Is it the passion for the craft that actually stops you from quitting the dream?
It is. My journey into this thing obviously is influenced by all the bullshit, right? The material stuff. Like, wow, it'd be great, see me on a billboard or whatever, but trying to put this the right way. The craft is what keeps you going. It is.
Yeah. Because the way I see it is if the passion's not there, I think a lot of people look for the actual end game. The fame, the fortune is the very obvious one.
Yeah.
But it feels like to me the ones that have any type of longevity are the ones that are actually not in it for that. They're in it just for sheer love of the game and actually enjoying the journey and the ride.
Yes.
Is that a better way to describe it?
Yeah, exactly. So, sorry, what was your question again? Like, what has kept me from quitting? Or
well, I was going to say, do you think that if you didn't have such a love for the craft of like being a stuntman and an actor, the actual craft, do you think you would have quit pursuing the dream? The dream. Would you have quit the dream a long time ago?
Yes, absolutely. It's for me, like, I've always been drawn to like very exciting things, whether it's just action. I hate the word like adrenaline junkie because it just sounds like, I'm not, but I am, like I just love doing things that make me feel alive. And like, first time that I got into an acting class, like being on stage with the light and, a bunch of strangers watching you, like I was so terrified, I was so scared. And I love that, I love that. Even today, like when I get on a set and I'm about to do something, or if I get to be in a scene with someone, like I'm fucking terrified, and that's like, it makes me feel alive and it makes me present, the best like thing I can compare it to being in a scene with someone and being truly present. It's like being in a 10-foot barrel where it's a time warp, where it's so fast and so slow, so quiet and so loud. It's the same thing that I've experienced in a scene with someone. So that's where I'm like, when that first happened for me in a class where I was like, this, there it is. There was a real moment, that's what grabbed me,
Yeah. It's funny. I've had that moment. I was talking about this with someone the other day. That moment you described where it feels like time slows down. I remember the first time I had it, I was actually playing soccer and I scored a goal. And I'll never forget, I was put on as a substitute, and then I had to we made a fast break and I ran the whole length of the field and this guy crossed the ball over and then I dived, and I'll never forget, I dived and it was like time stood still, slow motion. I headed the ball, went in the goal. I was like 13 years old, and I was just like, and then all of a sudden things sped up, and I was like, oh my God, like that, did that just happen? And then I remember I was addicted from then on, and then I got the same feeling a few times from skateboarding. I've had it fairly often in surfing. I think when you get in a barrel of a wave, definitely like there's that time standing still feeling. It's super potent and super addictive. Mm-hmm. And so I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm actually having moments of it with the podcast sometimes. If I'm talking to a guest and we touch on something really profound, I'm just like, wow, this is beyond me, and you feel this flow state. Yeah. Would you describe it as flow state?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're just present. Like that's it. There's nothing else.
What we struggle with, right? We struggle with being present. Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
present. Yeah, it's good, man. Now, listen. I've got to know, just out of curiosity, like You were an actor and a stunt double on like a Hollywood movie, Bad Boys for Life with Will Smith, and you had an acting role in it, but you also were in you were doubling a lot in a lot of the action sequences, correct?
I was just out there for this one specific scene, and I play like a leader of this Miami gang, and the deal goes bad, and I end up getting shot in the chest. It's pretty quick, but still amazing, getting to be on set in a scene with Will Smith. It's just like, those moments where you're just like, is this, how did I get here? Like what, like Will Smith is right here. Like what,
Can you just say, what's a movie set like for that sort of stuff? Is it as exciting as people think? Like, what are you spending a lot of your time doing on set? Standing around or?
Yeah. It's like waiting. You're here, waiting. And then it's like, let's go, crazy. What the fuck? High pressure, just, but then when like a guy like Will walks on set, everything goes mellow, everything's cool, and really interesting to see a guy of that caliber, he's so sweet, such a professional. Like the moment he stepped foot on set, I watched every move, just to study him, and really cool. Like he had this big entourage, like his family. There's probably 25 people that, and some people have been with him his whole career. And he rolls like that. Like his whole squad rolls with him. So he's like insulated with good people. But yeah, really cool. There's so many different moving parts to it. There's grips and there's PAs and there's directors and actors and stunts. Like it's just big orchestra of this moving beast, that's trying to all come together in one.
So I know you've also stunt doubled for James Franco, and I know you're actually quite personally good friends with James Franco. And my question to you is like, can you feel their X factor that they have? Like people like Will Smith, James Franco. When you're around those type of people, I mean, you said that you felt this presence when Will Smith came on the set, and you probably feel that with James Franco and others. Like, what do you think are those 1 or 2% differences that maybe have allowed them to get to that level of success?
It's their commitment, and talent. Like you could tell they're special people, and
innate.
What's that?
Like, would you say that's like innate talent? Like it's just a gifted, natural born talent?
Yes, it's a mixture, that and dedication, like with James, I know him personally. So, I got to spend a lot of time with him too in New York, and just seeing his day to day and being on set with him, and like how passionate he is about this whole world, and like he is an artist, like I don't really picture him as like an actor. Like he's an artist, that guy is reading constantly, he's seeing plays, he's doing plays, he's directing, he's producing. Like it's his whole existence, and I think he would be doing it regardless of money or not, and it's probably like a guy like Will as well, those guys just, they truly love what they do. And, like they're just, they're artists, man. That's like all I can say, It's super cool.
Yeah. Like you can feel it. And I talk a lot about authenticity. I think humans have this innate, authenticity detector, or what we might even say bullshit detector. And, when we talk about people like you just mentioned, and like James Franco's obviously sustained a long career. And I think that's what really resonates for me. Like the people that are sustaining these long careers are the ones that, again, goes back to what you were saying before. It's more than just the end game. It's the now game. It's the journey. It's the love of the actual journey, with the ups and downs. It stands out for me.
Yeah, and the work, it's about creating something special. Like I see him, and he's constantly searching for new material and trying to develop, scripts or writing stories. And like, it's the creating, like the guy is constantly creating. So yeah.
It's rad, man. So, man, I guess what I'm curious about with you, Pat, is that like I feel like I know you on a personal level, even though I don't, because I'm quite good friends with your brother Mikey, and he shares your journey with me constantly, and it's super inspiring. And to hear you come from like your early childhood of which would be described as unstable, fairly unstable to through maybe some years of substance abuse, and then now progressing to a time in your life where, would you say that you're embarking on maybe one of the more stable times in your life?
100%. I mean,
okay. Well, can you tell me why you feel that way?
So I just celebrated 8 years of sobriety, and one of my, I do 12-step program and all that stuff, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for it. We can get into that later. But, my friend who was helping me get sober in the beginning, he's like, you hike 10 years into the forest, you're going to have to hike 10 years out. And that has been my experience, especially like as an alcoholic, I want things now. I want it now, and when you're trying to have that like internal shift, how do I get it now? And man, it's like ice. It's got to thaw out, it doesn't, unless you die and somehow you're brought back to life and you're like, you've had this huge, crazy experience and like, I'm good. That hasn't been my experience. Like it's been like wrestling two alligators, you know what I mean? Trying to choke these things out slowly. And, my life since getting sober has been incredible, but it's probably some of the most painful times I've ever experienced. It's weird. Like I got sober and my surf career came back, I got engaged. I had a daughter, just like amazing. And then it was like, lost the surf career. My fiance left me, just life, and then in sobriety and then starting over from scratch and starting a whole new career and recreating myself, and it's really challenging, because I did something for so long and I was pretty good at it. And to have to completely shut that chapter down was a really big one for me. It was really hard to like, hey, this is done, like moving on, and then having this crazy idea in my head that, well, I'm going to move to LA and become a stuntman and an actor. It's like, are you crazy? Like that's even it's probably one of the most difficult things you can do. It's really challenging thing to get into and then make a career, out of it. So I think, during that time though, there's this amazing quote. It's like, when you have nothing, you're free to do anything, and that's kind of where I was, like I was zeroed out, like rock bottom, baby. You know what I mean? In sobriety. And, I was like, well, fuck it. And I know for me, like my soul is like, it's here all or nothing, like I'm here, I'm going for it or I'm not, I'm not going to like be in the middle. I just know like me deep down inside, it's like once I lock onto something, it's like, I'm going to make it happen, and man, to be honest with you, like over the past 4.5 years, 5 years, like getting in, like moving to LA, jumping off, that cliff and, getting all jacked up on Tony Robbins, like you want the island, burn the fucking boats. And like, I burn them and I lived in my car, like had $3 to my name, like, oh shit, and meanwhile, like being a father and then like dealing with all that stuff, like being am I selfish, like, and then having to go get some shitty job doing valet or whatever, it's been this crazy journey, and there's been moments where I'm like, fuck, I give up. I can't keep going. I quit. But then I can't quit. I'm like, I'm already in this too deep. Like I burnt the boats. It's like do or die. And I'm so grateful that I didn't give up. Because amazing stuff has been happening.
Did you have moments where you wanted to give up? Did you have?
Yeah, multiple times where I'm just like, this isn't happening. It's not happening. And where I've had to kind of like reassess, but I just know like this is what I want, so I just kept going. And then being guided gently, like realizing, like, oh, there's something guiding me here, putting these certain people in my life, and just little signs, I'm constantly trying to read, what the universe is sending at me, and it's no doubt that it's there, and that I'm on the right path, and I love what I do so much. Like I really do. Like I'm so obsessed with what I get to do, like I love being a stuntman. I love acting, like, directing, writing. Like I love film in its totality, every facet of it. So, which is incredible. And I wouldn't keep going. I think a lot of people get sorted out pretty quick once they move to LA and they realize, like, oh, this is like a lifelong haul. This isn't a get rich kind of scheme. It's a lifestyle. So fascinating.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. Like when you were talking about how you hit some of your you hit a rock bottom in sobriety. Multiple, yeah. And I think there's a bit of an illusion out there that people think that once you remove, if people remove substances from their life, they're not going to hit rock bottoms. And I know those feelings you must have had would you describe them as being like maybe the rawest of your life because you didn't have the option to numb out on a substance?
It's where the rubber meets the road, man. It's like you get sober and then you take away your only tool to deal with life, and it's like, oh, now what? Like, it's either I'm going to like learn, grab this spiritual toolkit and, get into service or whatever it is, therapy, like, or I'm going to stick a gun in my head. It's kind of
you had no idea.
Is you need relief, or you drink again, which happens. It's like there's like three things, It's like you seek a spiritual path. Spiritual path, drink, or stick a gun off yourself. That's been my experience. I don't want to talk for anyone else, but that's been my experience, and it's been a pretty incredible journey, fine-tuned for my growth, you know what I mean? With people, career stuff, like just so much growth over the last few years, and unfortunately, like for me, like I'm the type of person that I won't change until I have no other option, like I have to be pushed into the corner until it's like, holy fuck. Okay. I get it.
I get it. Oh man. Dude. Yeah. Look, oh my God, I can't identify enough. Yeah. I'm the same. I have to be pushed to the very end and I'll take things to the very, very end. Before I go, oh yeah, right. I got it now. I got it. Okay. Yeah. And it's so raw, but I love what you said before about, all of a sudden you have this, when you've got nothing, all of a sudden you have this new freedom because you've got nothing to lose. That's beautiful. And I never heard that analogy you said about when you go 10 years into the forest, it's going to take you 10 years to get out.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. And I really agree with you there when you say like this recovery and healing process it's not an overnight fix. It becomes a way of life and a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And for me, just to accept that concept that, okay, well, this is how I'm going to have to live my life now, probably forever. That was a real surrendering moment, and surrendering is a process too. So, dude, they're just beautiful messages, Pat, man, and so rad, dude. And if I'm honest, when I speak to you, I can see the light come out of you, dude. I can see this passion and lust for life just beaming through this computer screen in my first ever remote podcast.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Actually, to be honest, I'm so glad you're my first remote podcast because I've been very skeptical. When I first started the podcast, I was like, I'm never doing remote interviews. I want to be in the room with the person and connect with them. I didn't think I was going to be able to connect, but dude, I'm telling you, man, I can feel the connection even through this piece of technology. So
absolutely, yeah, mate.
So I want to tap into one more thing, and I hope it's not too personal. How do you feel that your relationship with your daughter has evolved? Do you mind sharing that?
Absolutely. She is a little angel that was sent to me to keep me tethered to earth, 100%. And it's the most beautiful thing. Like, I didn't have a childhood really, so
yeah,
for me, like last year we're in New York and I took her to see Frozen on Broadway, and just to see her light up, like there's this little child actor on the stage and she just was like, you could tell, like, she was like, what, like I can do that, and it just like, it's really bizarre because it's like I get to experience this like a childhood that I've never had, and for me, it's like the most beautiful thing and most powerful thing of like being a father to her, and just realizing that, like, how cool is it that I get to be there for her, and if she has likes or interest or something, that I get to be there to support and to flame that fire or fan that fire, and
wow.
Yeah, mind blowing, and she is just, I just had her out here in California. I just actually took her back to New York. I just got back to California 2 days ago, and it was amazing. I had her here for a month and a half, and I had a bunch of my own little personal projects going on, and had her on set, and like,
right.
She gets to see me work, and she just loves like acting and stunts and all this cool stuff. It's really, really sweet. Very special,
Super special, dude. Yeah, that's nice. Do you mind if I ask, like, how? I mean, you don't have to delve too deep into it, but when there was a breakdown in your relationship, how old was your daughter when that sort of went down?
She was around 3. I think she was 3 and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and so how old is she now?
She's about to be 7.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got this beautiful, close relationship with her.
Yeah. Oh man, it's incredible. Even a good relationship with her mom, which is great. She's an amazing person and amazing mother, and it's great. It's like, just as long as we're both healthy and what's best for the kids, and that's it. We leave our little kid feelings to the side, and it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with this anymore. It's about this kid and money. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get it. But I think I think that'll be very healing for a lot of people to hear that, what you just said, because I know that some people that may be in those kind of predicaments may not see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it seems very much that you're on the other side of that. You've been able to maintain a beautiful and close relationship with your daughter, and an amicable, maybe more amicable relationship with your ex-partner. So
yeah,
I think that in itself is kind of a triumph, in my opinion.
Well, if anyone's listening to this that's going through that, it's like, I had such a death grip on the whole situation, and I just strangled it out, sucked all the air out of it. I asked my buddy for some advice, older gentleman who went through similar thing, and best thing he ever said to me, man, that helped change everything. He's like, surrender and win. And that it gave me relief, like I can't control these outside things, especially your partner, the baby mama, like whatever she does, like unless it endangers a child, then it's like I can't control any of that, right? So that was just huge, surrender and win. It's kind of been my motto with the whole thing. And
was it the most powerless you've ever felt in your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still, obviously you still deal with life and co-parenting, which is really challenging sometimes. And, you're both trying to do your best, and a pause is really important,
Yeah.
Pause, call 3 people, and then go back and talk.
Pause and call 3. Okay, I haven't heard that part. You should pause. Yeah, call 3 people. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, listen, Pat, dude, it's been epic. It's been like an hour and 15 minutes, and it's just like the time's just flown by. Like I said, I'm so grateful to actually, have this time with you. And, Mikey, your brother, is just, he's a hero to me. And I know he's your older brother, and he's probably a hero to you too. And I just feel, so grateful to have people like Mikey and you in my life, who are just so profoundly raw. I feel a rawness to you, and I think there's so much beauty in being raw, especially in a world with so much fucking bullshit, especially, so thanks, bro.
Yeah, thank you. You kidding me? Amazing.
Now, dude, is there anything else you want to because we're getting to sort of towards the end. Is there anything you want to add on, or any messages you want to send out there? I think you've spread some beautiful stuff, but
yeah, I think, I think we kind of, for me, I wanted to talk a little bit about the mental health stuff, because it's a big part of my life. And, a lot of people out there are struggling right now. And, things that I guess for me, that anyone's listening, like, I've struggled with depression my entire life, and substance abuse, and you name it, dude. And, what's working for me in my life today is like, I have a solid morning ritual practice, because I wake up and it's like I wake up at the crack of doom, like the little gargoyle right here, it's just fucking and it's like, I gotta make coffee, and then it's like my default settings, it's like 33 years of programming, and I need to get in there and create this space between me and that old programming, and it takes a lot. I read some spiritual books. I have my meditation. I do some yoga, and, exercise is so huge, honestly. Like I just, even this past week, like I've been in a kind of depressive state, and it's so important for me to exercise, whatever that is. Like when I'm feeling that way, I got to go out, get an intense bike ride or skate or surf or something, just to get into the body, like get out of the mind and into the body. And 2, like, cause, suicide has been a thing in my life, and I gotta share that, like that's the only way that I'm going to get better from it, is like sharing it, and just to let people out there know that there's a way out besides that out. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like, I had to find someone that I could talk to all the time that would listen to my broken record, and they'd be okay with it. So it's like, if you can find a homie like that, or a friend or brother, or someone that it's like, dude, I am not doing good. Like I'm thinking, this is it. Because if you don't share it, that's when things go bad. You got to let it out, and really important having some people in your corner like that,
I'm really grateful that you want to raise awareness around mental health. That notion of finding someone to listen to your broken record. Now, that's a really interesting one, because people often go, oh, if you're suffering from mental health problems, just talk about it. But it actually is not that easy, because I think when people are suffering, they feel like that they're a burden to other people.
Yeah.
And you know what? Reality is sometimes you could become a burden, because especially if you're ruminating and saying the same things over and over, because you're going through a process of healing. And it does take rumination.
Yeah.
But I think what you said is magic, because it's the key is to find those people that really do want to listen to your broken record. And they are out there. You can find them in support groups. Family is always, the main go-to option, but there is friends. But the other thing is that everyone has been through it to some degree. And so it's like, there's empathy out there, and people will understand, because you are not alone in it. There's other people that have suffered, and there's other people that have suffered exactly like you. So if I'm completely honest, I'm sitting here, and there's no coincidence that I'm sitting here with you, because I'm identifying with virtually every element of your life journey. And it's not about me, this podcast today. It's about you. But wow, if it's not the universe or a higher power or a God putting you in front of me right now, well, holy shit, what is it? It's too coincidental. So, brother, there's so much love for you, and I'm so grateful. Now, Pat, I'm gonna put some links to some places people can access some, mental health awareness. I'm going to find some websites. There's a really good one in Australia called Beyond Blue, and for young people, there's another one called reachout.com. And I'm going to put these links and some others that Pat and I find around LA into Pat's show notes, and you can find those links on his episode on terriblehappytalks.com. But you can also these links will follow Pat's episode around all the major platforms such as Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And yeah, man. Now, I've got a present for you, Pat. Now, because we're doing this remotely, I've got two things for you. The first one is I have a Indosol. Their headquarters are actually in San Francisco. So Indosol will be sending you a pair of flip-flops or slides, size 10.5. So they're in the mail for you right now as a little token of our appreciation. It is summer there. So
I actually really need flip-flops. I was going to go buy some the other day, so it's perfect. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I give all guests is I usually give them a Terrible Happy Talks circle logo sticker. Okay. But I can't give it to you. But man, and I only give these out to guests that have been on the show. So you'll be episode 64. So there's only 64 of these, and it is my promise to you that I think our paths are going to cross, and when I see you, I'm going to give you that sticker. And it's only a sticker, but it's you're an alumni of the show now. So
beautiful.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And yeah, man. And last shout out to thanks again to Indosol. Go to indosol.com, use promo code THT, and same with Tectonic Coffee. They make super clean caffeine, pesticide free, all organic, ethical trading. Promo code THT. And that's it, brother. You. All right, man.
Thank you.
All right, love you.
Love you too, man.
Mate.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys. All right.